Welcome to Things You Don't Know. I am going to shepherd us through a very interesting topic today. What are we covering? Lip balm. What it is, why your lips dry out so quickly, how different cultures protected lips and skin in harsh conditions, and how modern lip balm products developed.
We'll separate what's clearly documented from what is a reasonable inference. People have used fats, oils, waxes, and pigments on skin for thousands of years. Lip balm as a labeled product category is very modern, but the practice of protecting lips is not.
And tonight we'll also focus on what lip balm actually does physiologically, how to evaluate types of balms, and what ingredients matter, especially for irritation, SPF, and long-term use.
Yes, and just for the sake of clarity, SPF is protection from harmful sun rays, right, Chandler?
That's correct, Dr. Weaver.
Yeah, and that was a very important point you brought up. So, why do lips dry out? Well, lips have a thinner outer layer than much of the skin on the body and fewer oil glands. In fact, there's almost none in the lips. That makes them more vulnerable to water loss, wind exposure, cold air, and indoor heating.
And most lip balms work primarily by reducing transepidermal water loss. They form a barrier on the lip surface. Many products don't add moisture directly. They help keep existing moisture from evaporating.
That basic problem, dryness and cracking in exposed conditions, has existed everywhere people have lived with wind, cold, aridity, or the sun. So historically, the substances used on lips often came from a broader skin protection traditions, fats, oils, waxes, and salves. There are also indigenous North American accounts. Ethnohistoric accounts often describe many indigenous communities in North America for thousands of years using rendered animal fats. These were called bear grease in English sources as grooming and protective material, particularly for hair and skin. For examples, accounts of the Lenape life note bear grease used to dress hair and accompany spiritual body decoration practices.
Once again, part of history that is glossed over. Yeah, these people used cosmetics way back when, huh, Dr. Deneen?
An example of always looking at things from a Eurocentric perspective and missing out on an awful lot.
And, I wish we had some more information about how people in Africa uh, dealt with this. We
Yeah,
really
that would
were,
be pretty interesting.
we really weren't able to find too much on that, but and that's a shame because I do think it would be interesting.
Well, the one thing I can tell you very briefly is the Matabele people in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana, they used similar, what white people would have called bear grease for spiritual purposes, coming of age ceremonies, weddings, and so on, as well as some general protection from the sun and the wind.
Yes, yes, indeed. From a functional standpoint, a grease used on exposed facial skin to reduce windburn would plausibly be used around the mouth as well. However, many sources document skin and hair more explicitly than lip only application. So we should describe lip use here as a reasonable extension of documented face skin protection practices rather than a universally attested lip specific tradition. We try to always make sure that the information we give is accurate and authentic.
That's right, and the takeaway for listeners is quite simple. Across cold and windy environments, people often rely on stable fats as occlusive barriers. That's the same core strategy that modern bombs use. Different packaging, similar physics.
Yeah, let me just say this about what you just said, Chandler. An inclusive barrier, just to be clear for our audience, is something that occludes. That's why we call it occlusive. And it occludes, which means shields, so that it's a shielding kind of a material. That's what we mean by an occlusive barrier.
So, like a protective barrier.
Yes.
Peoples in the Arctic regions, in the Inuit and Nunavak communities, they have a well-documented tradition of using seal fat for skin-related and health needs. Cultural documentation describes seal fat being used to treat all sorts of skin ailments, either by applying it directly or by rubbing it in.
And there are also accounts that explicitly connect blubber, whale blubber, seal blubber, etc., to chapped lips. An undecided report describing traditional remedies includes blubber applied with a feather. I just think that that picture is
I'm trying out of respect for the people not to laugh, but it sounds amusing. I must say, I'm sure it was effective, but I don't know if I'd want to put something like that on with a feather.
oh, I don't know. Might not. It might be kind of fun. I'm sure as a kid it might be okay. What do you think, Chandler?
I think it would be okay. I wouldn't have minded it when I was like maybe 10 or 12 years old.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
From a barrier perspective, that makes sense. Fats are strong occlusives. They reduce evaporation and reduce friction over cracked surfaces. It's a direct analog to petroleum-based lip products today.
Yes, you got that one right on target. Let's go back to ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt, cosmetics were used for appearance and also for the practical purposes. One example is the use of red ochre on cheeks and lips. It has been documented in discussions of Egyptian makeup practices and artifacts.
It's important to note that lip color and lip protection often overlap historically. Pigments mixed into fats or oils can add color while also serving as a protective layer against dryness.
So, in practice, a pigment and fat mixture can behave like a tinted balm, a film-forming layer with cosmetic impact.
You're quite correct, Chandler. Another very historically important development is the early formulation of wax and oil creams. That's associated with a great physician in the Middle Ages, a man named Galen, who created those things with rose water, olive or almond oil, and beeswax. That's a major step towards stable topical preparation used for both skin comfort and protection.
Yeah, you mentioned stable. What do we mean by that? Well, materials like beeswax and olive oil in particular are far more stable and they last longer. They are more useful in that way. So, even when intended for broader skin use, these preparations illustrate a long standing theme. Wax and oil mixtures create a protective film.
Which again, to modern balm logic, wax for structure and durability, and oil for slip and flexibility.
Whoa, good way to put that.
Thank you.
Let's look at Japan. Japan has a long tradition of lip and cheek rouge made from safflower pigment, and they call it beni. Museum-based descriptions note beni's use since ancient times in lip rouge and cheek rouge.
And cultural and industrial history sources describe safflower pigment and methods arriving via broader Chinese, Korean, and later Portuguese trade routes and becoming established in Japan very early on.
And functionally, these products weren't just about color. They also created a layer on the lips. If you ask me, they sit at the intersection of cosmetic and protective lip care.
Some academic work based in China is describing lipstick development references and a dichotomy split in early Chinese lip products between lip balm and mouth balm. These products were invented using plant juices, minerals, and other materials that were tied to medical treatments and to Taoist and Confucian religious rituals.
That doesn't mean the modern stick format existed, but it does reinforce the broader point. Protective and cosmetic lip preparations recur across cultures.
That's exactly right, and it also explains why modern categories blur. Balm, tint, and lipstick can be historically related, even if today they're different shelves in a store.
Yeah, they sure are. The industrial era change is not just ingredients, it's packaging, mass production, and branding. Petroleum based products became widely available in the late 19th century, and that created a stable, consistent barrier ingredient.
For the stick format lip balm most people recognize, a key milestone is the early history of what's now chapstick in the wonderful state I was born in and you and Chandler have lived in, Lynchburg, Virginia, also known for the development of Jack Daniels. These early handmade forms were later commercialized and made more mass production.
And the format here is very important. Twist up sticks and tubes reduce contamination and make repeated application realistic. That, folks, is part of why lip balm became a daily habit product rather than just the occasional salve.
Chandler, that's really important. The twist up stick. What does that mean? Well, obviously, when you get a tube of chapstick or some other lip balm, there's a little thing at the bottom where you can twist it and make it come up more. And
Yeah,
that,
those are the ones, those are my favorite kind, just my personal preference, actually.
well, yeah. And they also make it a little bit more hygienic because what you use, you know, then you screw it up and you have fresh stuff to work with, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about health benefits. All right. Health benefit number one is right out in front, reducing cracking and discomfort by maintaining a barrier. If lips split, they can sting, bleed, and become irritated. A barrier reduces friction and evaporation.
A second health benefit is environmental protection. What I mean is in cold or windy, or actually in heavy sun areas, a stable occlusive layer can prevent wind like or SPF kinds of irritation.
There's a third health benefit, and that's protection from the sun. Lips can sunburn in outdoor settings. Don't I know it? Snow, high altitude water. When trying to protect your lips, that SPF becomes very important.
Becomes very important, Dr. Deneen. Now let's talk about some limits. Lip balm doesn't fix every cause of dry lips, like mouth breathing, frequent lip licking, irritants, reactions to flavors and fragrances, and very dry indoor environments. Those are some things that can keep the problem going. And also, tingling ingredients may be soothing for some and irritating for others.
Lip products throughout history have served dual roles of protection and appearance. Many cultures treated the mouth as a visible marker of vitality, health, or status, and that pushed the development of color and shine traditions.
Cosmetically, lip balm smooths surface texture. that changes how light reflects and can make lips look healthier. Tinted balms do that while adding controlled color.
And modern cosmetic categories include clear balms, glossy balms, tinted balms, lip masks, and hybrid products that sit on the cusp between balm and lipstick. Now, I want to talk about the certain different types of lip balms and what they're for. Now, let's take a look at the types of lip balms. First, they are occlusive heavy balms. These provide the best barriers. They are made of petroleum, waxes, lanolin, and silicones. Next, emollient rich balms, which provide a softer feel, are made of plant oil and butters. They are comfort focused oils. And then we have humectant and occlusive balms, and these are made of glycerin, hyaluronic acid, and a sealing layer. Another important ingredient is SPF balms. As the name implies, they provide a barrier to harmful exposure to strong sunlight and outdoor exposure in general. Medicated or tingling balms use menthol or camphor-like materials and produce tingling sensations, useful for some, irritating for others. And of course, there are tinted balms which add color and protection. And finally, the overnight mask. These are thicker and provide a longer wear barrier.
Yes, if someone is repeatedly irritated, a simple approach is to choose a bland formula, minimal fragrance or flavor, then reintroduce other features later.
And historically, this mirrors the oldest approach, a stable fat or wax layer with minimal additives.
So let's look at the ingredients just quickly here. Occlusives, which are seals, are made of petroleum, beeswax, candelita, lanolin, and dimethicone.
Emollients are ingredients that soften and are made with shea or cocoa butter, plant oils, and squalene.
Humectants are ingredients which pull in water. They're made of glycerin, hyaluronic acid, panthenol, best paired with an occlusive.
And for many people, the biggest problem ingredients are fragrances, flavors, and strong cooling agents. If lips worsen with constant use, then the product itself may be a trigger.
Lip balms look modern, but the underlying strategy, barrier protection using fats, oils, and waxes, as we've said, shows up repeatedly across cultures, climates, and centuries. The modern era simply standardized and commercialized it.
And it remains a small technology with an outsized impact on comfort and health, especially in cold, windy, dry, or high UV conditions. It's kind of interesting. It's all seems to be all kinds of climates, any of them that impact it, huh?
Yeah, and each kind of climate impacts them in a different way, wouldn't you say, Dr. Weaver?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. So if listeners want a practical takeaway, choose the balm type that matches the condition. Barrier for winter, SPF for sun, and simple formulas for sensitivity. And whatever you do, don't confuse tingle for healing.
I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've learned a lot. Please come back, leave a like and comment, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for tuning in. Come on back and see us. We got some other good stuff.
Yes, we sure do. Bye bye for now.
Bye.